What are star vampires? Well, star vampires are one of those monsters that I had to name. This episode probably won't be super long because not a lot is known about them. In fact, the star vampire only appears in one single tale, The Shambler from the Stars by Robert Bloch. I had to make up the title Star Vampire myself because it's not given any name in the story. So Robert Bloch was one of Lovecraft's proteges. He started writing back and forth with Lovecraft when Bloch was only 16 years old. He started out by asking Lovecraft where he could find more Lovecraft's tales. Lovecraft gave him writing tips and encouraged him to write to other authors in his circle like August Derleth, Frank Belknap Long, Donald Wandre, and so forth. So when Bloch graduated from high school, he started writing. After a couple of his tales were published, he asked for permission from Lovecraft to kill him off in a story. Lovecraft sent him a signed certificate giving Robert Bloch full authority to annihilate, destroy, transmogrify, and otherwise abuse Lovecraft as a character. The result was the tale The Shambler from the Stars. In this story, Bloch also invented the mythos tome De Vermis Mysteriis and its history. Let me diverge a little bit. Bloch's little story led to two more great, longer stories. First, Lovecraft decided to take vengeance on Bloch for being eaten by the Shambler. So he wrote the classic mythos story, The Haunter of the Dark, which has spawned a pretty great audio CD with prop documents from the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society, an orchestral suite, and even this Haunter of the Dark figure sold by me, which you can use in games. In the story, The Haunter of the Dark, a character named Robert Blake, pretty obviously Robert Bloch, meddles in things he shouldn't. Then he's destroyed by the Haunter, an avatar of Nyarlathotep. This is the same year that Shambler of the Stars came out. And then some years later, sadly after Lovecraft died, Bloch finished the sequence by writing the story The Shadow from the Steeple, which it turns out that Robert Blake's meddling allowed Nyarlathotep access to our world, and that in fact this terrifying outer god was behind the Manhattan Project and the nuclear age. Pretty good stuff, all from a prank that a teenage Robert Bloch was playing on Lovecraft. Let's talk about the tale. In the story, the unnamed hero finds a copy of De Vermis Mysteriis, and he goes to visit a Providence Dreamer, obviously Lovecraft. He shows Lovecraft the book, and Lovecraft starts reading it aloud excitedly. Then, this happens. The room turned cold. A sudden wind shrieked in through the open window, a wind that was not of earth. It bore an evil bleating from afar. Then there was a crunching at the walls, and the window ledge buckled before my staring eyes. From out of the nothingness beyond that opening came a hysterical cackling born of utter madness. Well, the invisible force grabs Lovecraft and basically squeezes him to death and sucks out his blood. Then the final horror. Slowly but surely, the dim outlines of a presence came into view, the blood-filled outlines of that unseen shambler from the stars. It was red and dripping, an immensity of pulsing, moving jelly, a scarlet blob with myriad tentacular trunks that waved and waved. There were suckers on the tips of the appendages, and these were opening and closing with ghoulish lust. The thing was bloated and obscene, a headless, faceless, eyeless bulk with the ravenous maw and titanic talons of a star-born monster. The creature then flies away, still tittering with laughter. Blood smeared everywhere. At the end, the hero's convinced that the thing, the shambler from the stars, will return for him too. So, what can we learn from this? Well, one obvious thing is that the so-called shambler from the stars doesn't actually shamble. I mean, it floats through the air. I don't know why it's called a shambler. I guess because that sounded cool. The creature is summoned from afar. It arrived pretty fast, so I imagine it didn't actually fly all the way to Earth, but somehow portal itself here. It was called forth by a formula in the Vermis Mysteriis book. Unless it's just like a booby trap, I imagine that Ludwig Prinn, the author, also explained how to communicate or deal with the creature, but in the tale they don't get that far. So, here's what we know. It can move through space and fly without wings. It is invisible at least part of the time. It preys horribly upon its victims. What else has these characteristics? Well, a while ago, I did a video about flying polyps, and flying polyps have these exact same characteristics. Now, I don't think the star vampires are flying polyps, but I think they're connected. I think they might both be within the same evolutionary tribe. Another example of a creature which may belong to this group are the infamous eaters from William Hope Hodgson's Nightland book. They come from outside and they prey horribly. If you haven't read the Nightland, it's worth a look. It's basically the Earth after the Cthulhu mythos is taken over. Well, I mean, there's not much more to say about star vampires. Their relatives, the flying polyps, are organized. They build cities. They invade planets in a mass. The star vampires seem content to just visit, eat someone, and then go away again. A good comparison might be with wasps. You see, some wasps are social, like hornets. They work together to create a society. These, in my view, are like the flying polyps. You mess with one wasp, and all the hornets come after you. But a lot of wasps, most of them in fact, are solitary. They don't work together in any way. They live alone. This is more like the star vampire. Now, a friend of mine had asked me to come out to his house and say, "What's digging in my lawn?" Well, it was bee wolves, large wasps that hunt bees. And they had separate little burrows. Now, if you bothered one of the burrows, that wasp would come sting you, but the other ones didn't care because they weren't social. They just happened to all be in the same area. It's a lot safer to blunder into a solitary wasp than a social wasp. Of course, the solitary wasp will sting you, but then it's done, unless it wants to sting you a few more times, for fun. The social wasp brings its pals from the hive to attack in a force. That's how we're afraid of hornets. And of course, the star vampire will just come, eat one person, and leaves. I mean, it kind of sucks to be that person, but at least the monster's gone. When the flying polyps come, they stay. On the bright side, it seems possible that since you can actually summon star vampires, you may be able to communicate them, even make some kind of arrangement. With the polyps, all you can do is destroy. Oh, that reminds me of one other feature that's similar. When the shambler appears, there's a wind that comes with it. Flying polyps, we know, use wind in a weird way. Now, a really great feature of the Star Vampire is that you could run a horror role-playing game and have these be the bad guys. Let the players think it's a normal vampire. They're going to find bloodless corpses. Imagine the players looking around in graveyards and tombs for the vampire with their stakes and mallets and crosses, hearing the vampire's tittering laugh overhead as it defies them. Then the ultimate reveal. Not a human vampire, one of these things. What a great climactic scene. No need to give me any credit. It'll be yours to enjoy with your players. Star vampires, one more thing to worry about. Like me? Click on notifications, and of course, subscribe for more of these great things. And if you like, I have things for sale. Help support these videos by buying some. Thanks!